You could just start whenever you ready,
Okay.
and then we'll go from there. All
Okay.
right, bro.
So,
It's up to you. Go ahead.
all right. What's going on, everybody? My name is Chef Sebastian Solomon, and today I'm making for you breadfruit gnocchi. Gnocchi is typically an Italian dish made with potatoes, but today I want to take this dish and put a Haitian twist on it. And instead of using the potato, we're gonna be using the breadfruit. Um, this is what the breadfruit looks like. It's a tropical fruit, and it has the consistency of a sweet potato, but it's not as sweet. It's just it tastes really really delicious. And we actually have a traditional dish in Haiti with breadfruit, which that originates from Jeremy, and it's also an African dish where they mash the breadfruit and eat it with crab meat and okra. So today we're gonna take a twist on that, and we're just gonna make something, take something Haitian, something traditional, making it a little bit upscale. So what we do is, to make the gnocchi, we start out with the breadfruit, and what you want to do is you want to wrap it in aluminum foil and oil it, and then put it in the oven at 400 for about an hour. And for the sake of time, I already had one in the oven, so that's what it's gonna look like. So when you take it out, so this is not only they don't only have it in Haiti, they have it also in Asia and in Hawaii. So what they usually do is they usually cook it in in a fire pit. They just put the fruit in the fire pit, and the skin is so tough that the skin just burns the inside. Just it steams the inside. So it's pretty much the same technique we did in the oven. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take the skin off. First, we're gonna, you know, cut the top off, top and bottom, so you can have um, a firm breadfruit to work with. So you want to cut all the sides, and it's kind of hot. So if you're doing this, be careful so that you don't burn yourself. And essentially, all we're doing is we're just taking the skin off. And again, it's very, very hot. It's been in the oven for about an hour. So, and then when you take the skin off, be careful not to cut too much, so now you're not wasting the breadfruit. All right, so now I'm gonna clean up. And the best thing about cooking is is cleaning up as you go. So you're gonna, after you take the skin off, you're gonna half it, and then when you half it, there's a core. You don't want to eat that core. That core is really hard and bitter. So what you do is, after you cut it in half, you cut it in half again, and then you just use the knife and kind of go through. The core should come right out. And then we're gonna repeat the process. And we're gonna repeat it. And that's it. I'm just gonna put this to the side for now because I already made some, so we can use. So what we're gonna do now is we're going to we're gonna make the actual gnocchi. So it's just like using a potato. So you just put it in a bowl, You could mash it with your hand or with a spoon, whatever is easy for you. Um, and if you're making this, um, I would not suggest boiling the potato only because if you're using potato, but since we're using the breadfruit, I would not suggest that you boil the breadfruit because it absorbs the water and it makes it difficult to work with. So the best way to do it is either put it in the oven. If you don't want to put it in the oven, you can steam it. So if you don't have a steamer, the easy way to do is get a strainer and put it on top of hot water and cover it and just put it on there. So that way it's not absorbing a lot of water. So you just want to kind of mash it. You know, you can mash it with your hands, but it's a little hot. So just want to continue mashing it. If you have a masher too, you can use your masher. And just continue working it. I put a little bit of oil in there just to help it because it's really starchy. There's not a lot of it's really starchy, and also because we cooked it in the oven, so there's no moisture in there. So you just want to kind of work it. And so what we do, so now that it's starting to come together, I'm just gonna start mashing it with my hand. And again, be careful if you're doing this at home because this is, don't let me fool you, this is extremely hot. So what you do now is, so essentially what the gnocchi is just a pasta. From Italy, so we treat it just like, if we're making pasta. So you want to mash this, and I put a little bit of seasoning on there. One thing I like about the breadfruit is that it has a subtle sweetness. It's not overly sweet, but it tastes really good. And if you looking for where you could buy, you could get it at international stores, and it's becoming very, very popular now. I remember when I came to the States many, many years ago, it was really hard for us to find plantains. So it's kind of like the same thing with this now, and I believe over time, it's gonna become more popular, and you'll be able to find it everywhere. But right now, if you need, it'll be at international stores. So just be careful when you're mashing it. There's a little bit of piece of skin on there. So, and the skin is kind of tough, so you don't want it to get in there. So I added about one tablespoon of flour. I'm just gonna add a little bit more. And then now I have one egg. That is one egg is a egg white and an egg yolk. So I'm just gonna beat it and add it to my mixture. And again, this is gonna be used as a binder to help everything come together. And then when you add your egg, after you add your egg, it's gonna start getting mushy and wet. Don't worry, just add more flour. It's gonna help it get back to that thickness. A little bit more, so about half a cup, and work it about 1 to 2 tablespoons at a time until it becomes firm. So So until it's able to form a ball. So it's almost there. And this should be it. The last of the flour. So now just add a little bit more because you don't want it to be add more flour to the bowl. All right. So now that it start forming that ball, I'm gonna change my gloves. And then now we're gonna actually start rolling the dough. And once it's done, we're gonna be using traditional black Haitian mushrooms, and we use it a lot in our cooking, and it makes a dark broth once you boil it. That's what it looks like. We're gonna use that to make a sauce, and just something everybody eats on a regular, and then we're just gonna make it upscale. So now, what you do is take a little flour, put a little flour on your board or whatever surface you're working at, and you're gonna grab about a 2-inch dough ball. So what you do now, you kind of roll it, and then if it gets sticky, you can just add more flour. So now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut into. It's gonna start looking like small little pillows. That's the best way I could explain it, and that's what it looks like. And so now that it looks like that, so you have a couple of options. You can cook it like this. I personally don't like it like this because it doesn't really hold the sauce when you do it. If you cook it like this, or you can get actual gnocchi maker. They sell those on Amazon. I personally don't have one of those. You can get creative. You can use a fork. So all you want is create space so that the pasta, the sauce could be in the pasta. You could make it look like this, or I have a mandolin, so you could just do this. So I don't know if you see the lines, if you're able to see the lines, and that actually helps the sauce, stick to the actual gnocchi. So just roll it. I like to roll it a couple times. And then I already made a couple of these ahead of time. So what we're gonna do now is I have water right here, hot water. I'm just gonna turn it up so it can get real hot. Hot salted water. So we're just gonna keep rolling it. And then another thing that I was doing, I have one of these things right here. I personally like using this better because it gives me more of that feel that I'm looking for. So all I do is I'm just actually gonna reshape this so you could see. So all I do is I just kind of roll it on here. So now it kind of looks like a little pasta noodle. So I'm just gonna put it to the side. with my water, and then you can make these ahead of time and then stick them in the freezer. And then when it's time, you just drop them in your water. So just again, that you want those lines on there because when it cooks, the sauce is gonna be able to stick to it. Versus if it just looks regular. So what we're gonna do is take this and just roll it, and essentially that's what the gnocchi maker does. This, and then I'm gonna reshape this, and you know the thing about cooking is you could use uh, a good cook or a good chef. You know you have to improvise all the time. It's not all the time you're gonna get all the things that you're looking for or that you need. So you're gonna have to be creative and use other things. So which is what I'm doing right here. So just kind of roll it. Um, and one last one. And we're not gonna do all of these because, like I said, I already made some ahead of time. Okay, so now we're going to clean up and move on to the next phase. So once my water starts boiling, I'm gonna drop my gnocchi. And again, like I said, you can make these ahead of time and just dump them in the stick them in the freezer for about an hour. It gives it a nice consistency. And so now, while that's working, I'm waiting for my water. So I got some crabs. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna deep fry the crabs, and again, we're using typically when they make the crab, they usually make it in the sauce, but since everything is gonna be softer, you have the gnocchi and we have the okra in the sauce. So in a dish, you always want to have some kind of a crunch factor. So this is what I'm gonna use as my crunch. So I have cornstarch, salt, pepper, cloves, and paprika. Just gonna use a fork to kind of mix it together. And cornstarch instead of flour because cornstarch gives you a better crisp. And if you use flour, it tends to get soggy. So I like cornstarch better. So and again, we're just gonna do the crabs. They're gonna do the crab, and then we're gonna have the crab ready when the dish comes out. So all you do is I marinated my flour, my cornstarch. I'm sorry, I was just talking bad about flour. Um, so I'm gonna kind of get the cornstarch all over and nicely. Want to nicely coat the crab, and so now what you do is because you don't want all that cornstarch, so you kind of shake the excess off. And I'm just gonna put it to the side because I don't think my oil is hot. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna drop it in there, and again it's gonna make a nice, beautiful fried crab. And I'm using blue crabs. So blue crabs are edible when you fry them. So um, everything in the dish will be edible. And then that's one thing you want to do too when you're cooking. You want to make sure that everything you put on the plate, you know, the person that eats it can't eat everything, except the plate, of course. Now my crab is working. I just want to show you. And I have another technique. I'll show you as well. So we're gonna take the crab. So I have buttermilk right here. Buttermilk with salt and pepper. So we're gonna take the crab and put it in here. So the other technique, which um, is gonna come out better. By better, I mean it's gonna make it like it's gonna almost look like a batter. So you want to make sure that um, the buttermilk gets in the crab while my water is getting hot. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna repeat the same process. Cornstarch, and this time it's gonna have a thick um, batter consistency on the crab. And I'm just dropping this in the fryer. And you want to once you put it in the fryer, you want to make sure that you're not just dropping it. You want to make sure you just not splashing it, but gently dropping it. You want to treat it like a lady. So now my water is getting ready. So the key with the gnocchi is that you drop it until they float. That's all. That is all. So this is what I made previously. I have a couple made up, and some people make the gnocchi. They make them smaller, but I like it, to have a little bit of length because it kind of looks like a pasta, and it just looks better presentation wise. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna drop them in there, and you want to use a water that has a lot of salt in it, and that's gonna give it flavor. So this is what we're doing, and while I'm doing that, I want to make sure that I'm also looking at my crab, giving my crab some love. Cooking you have to be doing many things at the same time. Multitasking. So now, once they cool to the top, they'll be ready. I got a good amount in there. So, okay. All right. So now you want to clean up. Again, clean as you go. This is the most important room in the kitchen in your household. So now, I love the way my crab is looking. When I'm done now, I'm going to turn off my fire. And that's what it looks like. And, you're going to see when everything comes together in the end. So, now, we're going to get started with our sauce. So, we're going to start with olive oil. So, whenever you're making sauces, pastas, and stuff like that, you want to use olive oil or fruit oil because it has a low smoke point. It's going to give everything a nice caramelized flavor, but you have to watch it because it burns fast. But once you want to do frying, you want to use a high smoke point oil like a canola oil, a vegetable oil, and so forth. So now I'm just gonna add some thyme to my oil and some garlic, and I'm doing this away from the fire because I do not want my garlic to burn. Because once my garlic burns, my sauce is basically worthless. I can't use my sauce no more. So you want to get, let the garlic get a little brown, but not too brown. You start getting that aroma. I'm actually gonna move my crab over here and over there so that I can put my gnocchi. You're almost ready, and I'm gonna do some white wine. And again, when you want to do those elevated dishes, the wine adds a nice layer of flavor to your sauce. And since we're using crab meat, I have some crab base. I'm gonna add to my sauce. And then once that starts, I'm just gonna mix it together. And then now once my crab meat starts, my crab base, I'm sorry, start mixing into the sauce. I'm gonna add my okra. So I have the okra. I removed the seed, and again, that's for presentation purposes. So you wanna add the okra in there. And removing the seed is going to help it cook a little bit faster. So, since I got my okra, salt, pepper, I have my garlic, white wine. Allow your okra, you want to mix it in there for a little bit. And then you can also add the okra when you add the oil and garlic. So I'm going to add my sauce now. My black mushroom broth. And now I want to let it come to a boil. Now that my gnocchi starts to boil, that means it's ready. You don't want it to overcook, because if they overcook, it'll fall apart. And just kind of put it in the strainer, set it to the side. And then now I'm letting my sauce reduce. And let it boil. Once it comes to a boil, I'm going to add my gnocchi to it. And that's going to help the sauce to thicken up because, it has the flouriness of starchy vegetable. So everything's going to kind of coat to the vegetable. So yeah. But yeah. I actually have my cookbook, Quarantine Cuisine, since this is working. Talk a little bit about that. Quarantine Cuisine, which started off from the quarantine, and I was cooking, and actually my wife inspired me to write that. So I just finished that, and it's going to be out soon. If you want some more information on that, you can check on my Instagram at Cuisine King, or cuisinecaters.com, and it has a lot of recipes where I try to focus on um, Haitian cuisine, and if there's something in there that is not Haitian, it's definitely something. I try to bring something um, from the islands um, to kind of mix with it to make it to give it a Caribbean taste. So definitely look out for that. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm super excited for that. And now I have my butter. Now that my sauce is cooking, I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of butter. Yeah, so I've been cooking forever. Um, my grandma taught me. Her story is amazing. She's deceased, but she did not know how to read or write. But she was an amazing chef. She wanted to make sure that I learned the basics of cooking. So that's how I got into the trade, and I absolutely love it. So another one technique you could do is you could put the sauce to the side and saute the gnocchi in there until it gets some color and add it to the sauce. But I'm not gonna do that because I'm using a dark sauce. So if it has some color, you won't really be able to tell. Um, so now I'm gonna add my pasta to the sauce, and because this is a starch, it's gonna thicken the sauce. And you're gonna have a beautiful velvety sauce, and you want to make sure that the sauce coats the noodle. And this is pretty much a dish. And again, like I said, this is a dish. Um, in Haiti, they call it tom tom. Tom tom is they basically mash it and eat it with their hands with okra. Or in African culture, they call it fufu. They also make it with plantain flour and a whole bunch of other flours, cassava flour. But in Haiti, this is the influence of Africa and Haiti, and I love it because although it brings the flair of the motherland, it's also a unique dish. So that's what I love. I'm gonna add some fresh parsley, and I'm gonna turn this off because like I said, the starch from the breadfruit and the flour is gonna, make the sauce thick, and you don't want to have the pasta without sauce. So you still want to have a little sauce. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna plate it. This is my favorite part. All right, Frankie. So, I got a nice colored bowl. I'm gonna bring it closer so you can see the action. All right. So now got my spoon. So now we're just gonna you want to grab it so you're not grabbing any sauce. So what we're essentially going to just put the sauce on drizzle the sauce on top of it. Again, this is all culture, Haiti, Africa, together. Turn it off. So you want to kind of add some height. And I'm gonna do some okra on the side, just so the okra is visible. And you just want to have the colors kind of play on each other. And then now, just want to kind of clean up if there's any sauce or anything that falls on the side, because you want everything to be, you want it to look good. When it gets to whoever's eating it, so they can look at it, fall in love with it, take a picture. And then I'm just gonna add some sauce. And again, the sauce has a nice velvety, a nice sheen to it, because of the butter, and also because of the flour and the starch from the breadfruit. So now what we're gonna do is, to finish this, we're gonna put the crab on top. And actually, I want the crab to have some height. So now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do some microgreens. Microgreens. And microgreens are just your typical, your herbs, your whatever, your parsley, your cilantro, your beet leaves. They just grow them in their it's a way that they grow so that they're small, so you can use it as garnish. So microgreen and a little bit of edible flour. So I'm just gonna kind of place this, and this is gonna elevate the dish. Take it from $20 to $50. That makes sense. So this is it. Breadfruit gnocchi with a fried crab and okra and black mushroom sauce. Typical Haitian dish, just made upscale, and this is what it is. Thank you so much. Again, my name is Chef Sebastian Solomon, and If you want some more information about what I do, you can follow me on Instagram at Cuisine King. Thank you so much. God bless.